one of the big things that code is used for is to run simulations on things. We call it simulations, or you can call it modeling. So you've probably heard of things like, modeling the climate, things like that. This is all done with like computer models, which is basically a simplified version of the real world represented in computers, and we can kind of run these things and figure out, different possibilities or what might be happening. So there's nothing really truly new here, but we are going to use some of the techniques that we've learned in different ways. So yeah, essentially we're going to do this model on our restaurant, and basically model how it might look if we are going to run it from year to year, what the finances will look like. So essentially, this is going to be a simplified version of like a sim game, or like a tycoon style game. Yeah, something like that. Those games are, essentially models, in a gamified way, I guess. Okay, so restaurant. So let's start with, let's just import random and import time. We'll need those things. And we'll just leave a comment to simulate running a restaurant and its profits. Okay, so let's start with revenue. So a typical restaurant, like kind of mom and pop restaurant, small family restaurant, might have revenues of say 500,000 a year. That's kind of a ballpark figure. If you have kind of less than that, it becomes hard. Well, I mean, depends on how big your shop is. If your shop is tiny, your rent is tiny, and you don't have anyone working for you, you might have lower revenues. But this is, average size small restaurant, maybe 8 tables or something like that, with somebody working in the kitchen and a part-time wait staff, so something like that along those lines. So revenue, we'll say 500,000, and then you have some expenses. So you have like rent, and so a rule of thumb is that rent might be 10% of your revenues. So let's say 5,000, and we'll say salaries. So you have maybe 3 part-timers, something like that. Let's call 150,000. You have ingredients, or your food expenses. Let's say 150,000, and insurance. I'm not sure how much that would be. Let's call it 5,000. You have utilities. Again, not too sure. Utilities on the prices of that. Let's call it 10,000. And you have maybe promotions, flyers, or what have you. Let's call that 20,000. And you probably have some other random expenses that miscellaneous kind of things. And let's put that at 20,000 also. Okay, so you have revenue and you have expenses. Then you have your tax. Let's call it 15% for now. And then you'll have your owner's withdrawal. So as the owner of the restaurant, you need some money to live on. Let's call it 70,000, kind of an average, middle kind of salary. The whole point of this thing is so that you can make money, obviously. And so as the owner, you will take some money out of the profits every year for yourself to live on, while keeping some money in the restaurant, and we'll call that money the retained earnings. And so if you need to do things in the restaurant from year to year, it will come out of that, and so that will start at 0. We need a year counter because we're going to go over multiple years, and that will start at 0 as well. Okay, so we have all of our kind of beginning numbers here. Okay, so now that all of our starting accounts are there, we'll start the game. Wow, true. Start the simulation rather. Okay, so while true, so each loop, loop time, each time through the while loop is going to be like 1 year. Okay. So while true, we'll first increment our year counter. Okay. And then we'll pretty much say calculate our revenue and expenses. Revenue is just equal to revenue. Expenses equals basically adding up all of those things. Okay, now we have a couple of things that may start to affect things that I want to add in here. So for example, we may have like some kind of natural disaster. Maybe it's COVID, maybe it's an earthquake, something that we can't really predict. Disaster. Now we can't exactly model what that will look like, so we'll just make a guess. Let's say 1% chance of something happening, pretty low, but possible. And let's say of 20% decline in revenues. Okay, so how are we going to do this? We're going to say if random.randint, so this is my random chance, 1% chance, so 1 out of 100, and yeah, I could, equal anything. Let's just say 50 for, it could be any number really. It's just 1 out of 100. Yeah, let's just say revenue is now revenue times 0.8 because I had a 20% decline. That means I'm left with only 80% of my revenue. Okay, and we'll just print that a disaster has happened. There's a lot of other things that could potentially happen. For example, lawsuits. Restaurants get sued sometimes. Somebody ate something bad and got sick, and then suddenly they're suing the restaurant or whatever. So let's say that there's also a 1% chance of that, and let's say that they sue you for $20,000. So okay. So if, again, 1% chance, so we do our 1% chance thing. And I guess this would be call it expenses. Well, we haven't calculated expenses until down here, so maybe we need to calculate that before. Yeah, okay. Let's put this stuff after these basic calculations then. Okay, expenses and equals expenses plus, what did I say, 20,000? Okay. We might also have just random factors, whether it's, the economy gets better, inflation, something happens. So things that are kind of out of our control. Let's just call it outside forces, and let's call it, 5% chance of it improving things, and 5% chance of it making things worse. Okay, and let's just say 10% of revenue. Okay, and so 5% chance getting better, 5% chance getting worse. So let's go with, so altogether we want a 10% chance. Okay, sure. So we'll go if random.randint 1 to 100, and let's say is less than 10, because we want a 10% chance. I guess it will be 11 actually. And then we want to know if it's improving or getting worse. So let's say if it's from 1 to 5, that means it's getting worse. So if, maybe we should assign this a variable so that we're able to save that number. Outside force equals this. Okay, if outside, outside force is less than 11. There we go. Okay, and if outside force is less than 5, in fact, no, 6. 6 includes 1 to 5, yep. What did we say? That was getting better or getting worse? I forgot. Let's say it's getting better. So then revenue, and we'll say equals revenue times 10% better is times 1.1. Okay. Else revenue equals revenue times 0.9, 10% worse. Let's just do a little message as well so we know what's happening. Outside forces improve revenue and the other one will print outside forces hurt revenue. Alrighty. Okay, I think we're good to go. We have our 3 kind of chances of weird stuff happening. We have our calculation, basic calculation here. Okay, so let's calculate our profit. So profit is going to be obviously revenue minus expense. But as we recall from here, we are taxed on our revenue because we are a business and business are charged tax. Okay, so 15% is our tax. And so, so we have this number times 0.85. We're taxed 15%. That means we can keep 85%. So, I mean, yeah, we should actually use our variable. It's bad practice to hard code it like that. So let's say 1 minus tax. Tax is 0.15. 1 minus tax is, tax is 0.15. 1 minus tax is now 0.85, which is what I said before. All right. So tax is done. And then we also have up here owner withdrawal. We talked about every year the owner will take money out basically for your own living expenses. So this is minus owner withdrawal. And then we have to calculate our retained earnings. So if you'll recall, retained earnings is what we carry over year to year. And so it's whatever was in retained earnings last year. It's basically the bank account, then plus the profit, okay? Okay, great. So all of our calculations are done, so we can print some information here. Year 0, or no, year 1, I guess it'll start. And we can print profit. And I guess also retained earnings. And then if we have no retained earnings, if our retained earnings is negative, that means our bank account is negative. That means basically we're bankrupt. So let's make a little condition here. If retained earnings is less than 0, print and then we'll break out of the loop because the game is over at that point. Okay. So far so good. So from year to year, I want to try and adjust my I want to try and adjust my and improve my financial position. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll ask the user a series of questions. So first one is, do we want to change the chef? Actually, I'll just do a cut here so you don't have to watch me typing all this stuff out, and then we can take a look afterwards and see what to do about these questions. Okay, so we have a few questions. We have change chef. Okay, you can improve chef quality, which means our salary is going to increase, but our revenue is also going to increase. We're not sure how much our revenue is going to increase, somewhere between 3 and 10%. Okay, so let's implement that. So if change chef equals yes, so that means that the user would like to change the chef, improve the chef, I guess. Well, first of all, our salary is going to increase. And second of all, our revenue is going to increase. So I have, so my revenue, I have kind of the original revenue, like kind of, I guess, the baseline revenue of the year, but that is changing in certain places. Like I'm changing revenue here or here or here. Oh no, that's expenses, but here. So revenues can be changing. So I want to save that baseline revenue, and I'm calling it old revenue. So that's the baseline revenue. And I want to use that baseline revenue to calculate some of these things because, it's not necessarily based, whether you had like some kind of disaster shouldn't impact on like how much your revenue is increasing because you got a new chef and things like that. So that's why we're using old revenue here. And what do we need to do with it? Well, we're going to times it by random.randint between 3 and 10, right? 3 and 10%. Okay. We need percent, so we need to divide by 100. I think that's good. So we have our new revenue equals the old revenue plus this difference, which is the old revenue times 3 to 10%. And we'll do a little message here. Chef upgraded. Just like that. Okay, so that is done. Another thing that I suggested was you could change your decor, basically do a reno, and that's not going to change your expenses, but that's going to be a one-time expense, okay? And it will improve revenue by that much. One-time expense, that's going to come out of your retained earnings. Okay, so we're going to have if change decor equals yes. We're going to say if retained earnings So basically, if you don't have the 200K in your bank account, can't do it, right? Sorry, you are too poor to do a rental. Else, okay, so if you do have that much in the bank account, then we'll go ahead and take that stuff out of your bank account. And then we'll improve our revenue. So basically we'll do the same thing right as this. Except we want, how much did it improve? 200K improved by 5 to 15%. So 5 to 15. Okay, and then we'll do a little message. And that'll be like that. Rental complete. Retained earnings are now this much. Revenue is now this much. Okay, just giving an update. Okay. Location. So location, rent expense is going to increase, and there's a moving fee. We have to hire the movers and stuff. 50K, and revenues are going to increase. Okay, so it's kind of a combination of those things. So let's just take the rental one and copy it. And we're going to change, is it called change location? Okay, retain earnings. So we need this time 50K. Too poor to move. Okay, and then retain earnings. This is 50K. And revenue. Wait, no, there's expenses also. So that's rent, I believe. Yeah, rent expense. Rent equals rent plus, and we said it was going to increase 50%. So rent times 0.5. I guess we could have just said rent times 1.5. Oh well. Revenue is going to increase. How much was it going to increase? 10 to 15. Okay. And we'll print out the updated retained earnings and revenue. That's fine. Okay. I guess we should print out the updated rent as well. Technically. Oops. Okay, rent is now at, and then whatever dollar figure the rent is at. Okay. Promotion. So I asked the promotion question a little bit differently. Oh, first of all, I had to put it in a temporary string because I'm putting, like, mixing this with this, I wouldn't do it. So anyways, temporary string. Okay, I'm looking for a number here. So last year you spent this much on promotion. How much do you want to spend this year? And I'm looking for a number. Okay. So let's say if. Oh, I also, because I needed the old number and the new number, because I want to know if it went up or down, then I equaled it to new promotion. Okay, so if new promotion minus promotion, which is old promotion really, and we'll say if that is, if they spend significantly more, so more than 1,000 more, we can increase a little bit. Revenue equals revenue. We'll just do one of these guys. And 10 to 15 is too much. Let's say 2 to 5. Okay. Else, so basically if you spent less than 1,000 more than before, we'll decrease it by the same amount. Instead of plus, we're going to minus. Okay. Finally, oh, and then we have to put the promotion into the new promotion into the promotion. Promotion equals new promotion. That way, when I make my calculating for the next year, it will be updated. Finally, last is this one. Last year, owner withdrawal. So how much do you want to take out? So this is kind of your own, for your own purposes. Okay, so if owner withdrawal, something wrong here. There. I believe this is new owner withdrawal. I had to make a new one for this as well. Yeah. So if the new owner withdrawal is less than, say, 50,000, print, sorry, your owner with less than 50,000. It's really hard to live here in the city, so we'll say you can't do that basically. And if you try to say 0 or something, we'll say owner withdrawal is actually 50,000. Okay. LF, let's give another condition that LF, you make a really big one. Say it's more than 100K. We'll print a nice message. Something like that. And then we'll say owner withdrawal equals new. And then for the other case, it's just normal, so we'll just put that. Okay, and that should be it. Let's just do a little delay. Okay, let's see if this whole thing works. Expenses not defined. Okay. I believe it's because this is called expenses. Okay, there we go. Year one, profit $49,000. Retained earnings $49,000. You can improve your chef quality and increase revenue. Yes or no? Well, sure. Let's do that. You can improve the decor and do a reno. No, I don't want to do that. Improve location. I don't want to do that either. How much do I want to spend on? Wait, there. How much do I want to spend on promotion? Oh, let's increase the promotion to 30,000. Owner withdrawal. Let's say. Let's try to lowball and say 25,000. Okay. Chef upgraded, so my revenue has increased. Okay. And it says my owner withdrawal can't be less than 50K, so that's fine. Year two, profit was 64,750, so that is actually an increase in profit. My retained earnings are nice and high now, so I can do some of these upgrades. Well, I can do this one at least. I can do the rent upgrade. Okay. So do I want to do a chef upgrade as well? No. Decor, I can't do that. Well, let's try to do that anyway. See if it'll give me an error message. And do we want to improve location? Yes. Promotion. How much do you want to spend? Let's spend 100K. Let's really go big on promotion. How much do I want to take this year? I want to take just say 60,000. Okay, sorry, you're too poor to do a reno. So it did give me that message that I was too poor. And reno complete, retain earnings. Oh, oops, I did a mistake on that message. That should say move complete because I moved actually. Okay. Revenue is now 638,000. Rent is now 7,500. Okay, profit is increasing. That is great. Retained earnings is nice and healthy. Okay, so let's go. Let's improve. Let's improve everything. No, I can't. I still can't do retained earnings yet. I mean, I still can't do decor. So let's just keep that rolling, and we'll say no. Oops. We'll say no here, and we'll say no there. Last year you spent 100,000. Let's spend the same, and let's do 50,000 for owner withdrawal. Okay. Chef upgraded. So again, I have more revenues. That's great. My profit 83,000. Oh, actually, my profit went down. So that's probably because my chef prices went up and my revenues maybe didn't go up far enough. My retained earnings is enough to do a reno. So let's do a reno this time. So no, I don't want to improve chef. I do want to do reno. I don't want to do rent increase. Let's reduce my promotion to 50,000. How much do I want to take out this year? Let's do the minimum 50,000. Okay, reno complete. Retained earnings is now 34,505. Revenue is 790,000. That's great. That's a significant increase from that last number. Okay, year 5 profit 185,000. Is that right? My last profit was 83,000. Okay, so potentially, did I make a mistake somewhere? I must have made a mistake somewhere in the calculation in the reno one. So I'll have to check that, and let's just say no to everything, and I want to spend 100,000 on the marketing, and let's say I want to do 200,000 on owner withdrawal. I want to buy like a new boat or something. Okay. So profit is 25,412. Not sure why profit is fluctuating so much, because last time it was 185,000. Something weird going on. Also, I didn't round off my numbers, so another thing for me to deal with. Okay, I just want to lose at this point so that we can show that how it looks like when we lose. So let's spend, say, $1 million on promotion. That'll make me lose for sure, I believe. And we want to take that much. Okay. So year 7 profit is negative, I don't know, million something, probably because I put a ridiculously high number in promotion. And retained earnings is also super negative. Well, it looks like you're broke. Sorry, your restaurant is shut down and you are pursued by creditors. Game over. So the simulation is over. So that's how we do it. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see any of these random events happen. Well, I mean, we made it as a 1% chance, so there was a pretty low chance. And this was like a 10% chance of something happening. So again, pretty low. So unfortunately, we didn't see those messages, but they were there. But yeah, you can see how you can start to simulate things. This particular simulation, I wanted to make it a little game-like, so we included, these kind of decisions that whether we want to improve things. It doesn't have to. In say like climate modeling, they don't include stuff like that. They just here's the variables, and if we tweak the variables, what happens to our climate, stuff like that, right? Anyway, so that's kind of an introduction to modeling and simulation. So hopefully that was helpful, and we'll see you in the next video.